The Cleveland Browns are about to make a move that could quietly destroy everything Shedeur Sanders just spent an entire season fighting to build.
Somebody told me something to expect the unexpected, and in the back of my mind, I didn't want to think that, but I thought that.
Now, this is coming from Rizzo this morning. One thing I can say that I admire and appreciate about Rizzo, he don't be with the BS. Rizzo get on his podcast and he keep it real. So if this is coming from him, believe it. Definitely believe it. I don't give a damn who y'all listen to when it comes to Cleveland media.
On YouTube, this is Mag Dog TV coming back with another one. Browns reporter Tony Rizzo rants about Shedeur Sanders not being given the starting job ahead of training camp. We also have G. Bush setting the record straight about what he feels like when it comes to Todd Monken's comments about Shedeur. As a Shedeur Sanders supporter, I'm very pleased with the way the Cleveland Browns have been handling the Shedeur Sanders situation thus far ahead of training camp. Me personally, I love the fact that they're going to allow Shedeur Sanders to compete for the job, but it's going to be his job to lose. That's how I take it. Tony Rizzo, on the other hand, wants Shedeur Sanders to be announced the starter ahead of training camp. We also have G. Bush speaking out about his thoughts of Todd Monken's comments about Shedeur. I'm going to play both video clips and let you guys hear exactly what was stated, and then I'm going to give you guys my thoughts after.
Owner came out and said Deshaun Watson has a great chance to redeem himself. Is that, should I read it, that's a non-belief in Shedeur?
No, I wouldn't read it that way. I would read it in rewarding Watson for working hard to get through those two surgeries. And he has worked hard. You know, now that doesn't guarantee him playing. Now he's worked himself to the point where he's expected to be totally healthy. And he should, you know, I thought Monken said it best. He was almost exasperated.
Just days before the NFL draft, one of the most credible and respected insiders in all of Cleveland media walked up to the microphone and said 3 words that sent shockwaves through the entire fan base. Expect the unexpected. That was Tony Rizzo, ESPN Cleveland, a man who has been covering this team for decades and has never once chased a rumor just for the clicks. When Rizzo says something, you stop what you're doing and you listen. Because what he revealed this morning was not just a draft update, it was a warning. A warning that the Browns may be about to repeat the exact same mistake that has held this franchise back for years. And right in the middle of all of it is Shedeur Sanders.
Now, this is coming off pretty much a good week. You know, Shedeur showed up to the workout sessions, took over the internet last week. Now this week, we thinking we finna get left tackles, wide receivers. They might not be getting either one of those early on. They is so fixated on getting a new quarterback. This is startling, bro. So damn startling to me that they keep going through this same cycle.
Let's go back to where we were just 1 week ago. The mood around Cleveland was actually positive for once. Shedeur Sanders had shown up to voluntary workouts. He was at the facility early, putting in reps, building chemistry, doing everything a young quarterback is supposed to do heading into a pivotal offseason. The internet was buzzing. Fans were excited. For the first time in a long time, it genuinely felt like this team had a direction. And then draft week arrived. The conversation was simple. Browns hold the number 6 overall pick. Cleveland needs a left tackle, badly. They need weapons at wide receiver, offensive line help, real pieces around a young quarterback who just showed everybody he belongs in this league. The draft board was loaded with exactly those kinds of players. Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Love, pass catchers who could step in immediately and change the dynamic of this entire offense. Everything made sense. The path was clear. And then Rizzo opened his mouth. He got on his platform this morning and said something that nobody was prepared to hear. His sources that have been right time and time again, told him that the Browns are not necessarily going the direction everyone assumed. In fact, there is a very real possibility that Cleveland walks up to that podium at number 6 and does something that shocks the entire NFL. they could be drafting a quarterback. Not a day 3 flyer, not a late round developmental guy, a quarterback early. A quarterback who, according to Andrew Berry's own comments, could come in and legitimately compete to be the starter. Let that sink in for a second. This is a team that already has Shedeur Sanders, a rookie who went 4-3 as a starter, threw for 1,400 yards, and won his final 2 games of the season against divisional opponents. A team that also has Dillon Gabriel on the roster, and now the front office is out here talking about bringing in a 4th quarterback who can compete for the starting job. No one expected what happened next.
Tony Rizzo just went off on the Cleveland Browns, calling out the front office, the coaches, and even the quarterback. His message was clear. It's time to stop making excuses and start Shedeur now.
Dillon Gabriel looked like Dillon Gabriel. His luck finally ran out with the picks. He also gave up a safety. Chris, I've seen enough. I said I've seen enough last week. But if Shedeur can't stay healthy, you're going to get him on the field. Chris, did he work out on the field before the game?
Yeah, tried to get loose and get ready.
How do you get hurt? They won't even let the kid play.
Riz, I can't explain it.
Phantom back injury, huh? Okay.
Dillon Gabriel, Dillon Gabriel, this fake supercomputer they said he was, processing super fast and all that, man, whatever. This man should have thrown 9 interceptions. They finally caught 2 of them. I told y'all the Patriots was going to catch him and expose Dillon Gabriel, man. But, hey, Shedeur injury, who knows, man? I don't know what it is. I really do think it's the devil playing with him just because the opportunities that he could actually get in the game, even during the preseason, where he missed that 1 preseason game, when it's time and Dillon Gabriel play horrible, Shedeur get hurt. Just surprisingly, Shedeur is hurt every time Dillon Gabriel play bad. I'm talking about extremely bad to where you can make no excuses for Dillon Gabriel and need to pull him out the game, but Shedeur was hurt. The preseason game and then this game. I don't know what it is.
Chris, I've heard from people around the league that cannot believe the Browns have not prepared Shedeur Sanders to play, and they're 2-6, and it's what are you waiting for? Are you waiting till you're 2-12 when it doesn't mean anything? And then who cares?
It doesn't mean anything now. You're 2-6. You're not going anywhere.
So what are they waiting for?
Riz, I don't know. Now is a perfect time to make the change. Does anybody really think running Dillon Gabriel out there he's going to get better? The answer is no. So why not make the change? You have 2 weeks to prepare Shedeur.
They won't do it.
Of course they won't, because nothing they have done starting since the end of the year last year at the quarterback position has made
any sense.
Nothing has made sense.
And for that reason alone, Chris, the front office needs to.
He's starting to fall. But really the interesting part about Andrew Berry's comments to me was him saying that he thinks that they can find a rookie quarterback or a young quarterback that can compete to be the starter this year. That's what really took me for a loop. So is that Ty Simpson? Is that maybe some of these, day 2 guys like Nussmeier or Allard who, struggled in their year before declaring? That's what really stood out to me. Like, who is this young quarterback that Andrew Berry thinks that they can throw in this situation right now?
Because when you actually sit down and think about what Andrew Berry said, that he wants a young passer who can compete for the starting role this year, the only conclusion you can reach is this. The Browns do not fully trust Shedeur Sanders to be their guy, at least not yet. And rather than building around him, rather than surrounding him with weapons and giving him a real shot, they're about to manufacture even more competition and chaos in a quarterback room that was already complicated enough. This is the same cycle Cleveland has been stuck in for over 2 decades. Quarterback after quarterback, draft pick after draft pick, and none of it ever leads anywhere real. But this is where it gets even more complicated, because there's a bigger question starting to surface, and Rizzo addressed it directly. Who is actually making these decisions? Think about Todd Monken. Brand new head coach, smart offensive mind. He just inherited a situation with a young, talented quarterback who earned his way into the starting role under impossible circumstances. Any real football coach looks at what Shedeur did. No reps in training camp, no preseason snaps, thrown into the fire and still managing to win games, and says build around this kid. Give him an offensive line. Give him a receiver. Let him cook. Think about Andrew Berry, a GM who has shown he understands how to evaluate talent, who drafted Shedeur in the first place because he believed in the skill set. So if the football people can see what Shedeur is, why does the decision-making keep working against him? That's when the name keeps coming up. Jimmy Haslam, the owner. People close to the situation are starting to connect the dots and point directly at ownership. Because when you look at the pattern, the revolving door of quarterbacks, the constant roster chaos, the inability to just commit to a direction and stay there, it stops looking like a front office problem. It starts looking like something being pushed from above, something that no coach or GM would choose on their own if they had full control. And if that's true, it changes the entire conversation. Because Shedeur Sanders doesn't just have to outperform whoever they draft, he has to outperform the doubts of ownership. He has to be so undeniable that even the people at the top of the building have no choice but to hand him the keys. That's a brutal position to put a second-year player in.
They throw out all these trade scenarios for Myles Garrett, and I say no, they're not trading Myles. They can't do it. Too many cap implications. They just re-signed him, recommitted, and all those type of things, but look, I do feel like that the probability of him being traded certainly increases. Now, I know what Andrew Berry has said, that we're not trading Myles Garrett. We have no interest even having that conversation. Here's the reality. They're not interested in trading him.
Now let's talk about the other part of this story, the part that most people are sleeping on. Myles Garrett, the best defensive player in football, a future Hall of Famer, the one player on this entire roster that opposing offenses game plan around every single week. And according to what's circulating on Cleveland radio right now, the conversation around a potential Myles Garrett trade is no longer as ridiculous as it once sounded. Rizzo was asked about it directly, and for the first time, he didn't shut it down. He said the probability of a trade has gone up, not because Cleveland is actively shopping him, not because Garrett wants out, but because if a team, a Dallas, a Philadelphia, a contender willing to mortgage the future, comes to Andrew Berry with 3 first-round picks on the table, the Browns front office would have to sit down and have that conversation. 3 first-round picks. That's the number being floated as the price for Garrett. And if those picks come from a winning organization, picks that could be top 15 selections, the calculus changes completely. So now connect everything. A team potentially spending a top 6 pick on a quarterback instead of protecting Shedeur or arming him with weapons, a franchise cornerstone potentially headed out the door for a collection of draft capital, a second-year quarterback trying to prove himself inside an organization that seems more focused on building for some future version of itself than on winning right now. And through all of it, Shedeur Sanders just keeps showing up. That's the detail that gets lost in every one of these conversations. While all this chaos is swirling at the organizational level, Shedeur has been at that facility every single day, working, building, preparing. Other guys in that quarterback room couldn't even make it in consistently during the offseason. Shedeur was already there. He is doing his part. He has always done his part. The real question, the one that Cleveland fans need to be asking loudly and demanding an answer to, is whether this organization is doing its part for him. Because what Rizzo dropped this morning wasn't just a draft prediction, it was a mirror held up directly in front of a franchise that keeps asking its players to believe in the process while quietly making the process harder for the one player who actually deserves a fair shot. The draft is days away. The picks will be made, the moves will happen, and when the dust settles, we'll know whether this was the year the Browns finally committed to something real, or whether it was just another chapter in the same frustrating story this city has been living through for 25 years. Shedeur Sanders deserves better. Cleveland deserves better. And if what Rizzo is hearing turns out to be true, this city is going to have some very serious questions for the people running this team. Stay locked in, because this story is just getting started. And if you want every update, every reaction, and every breakdown the moment it drops, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. This one is going to keep moving fast.